Hello everybody, my name is Killer Cupcake, and welcome to this video. We're talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. You guys have heard of Five Nights at Freddy's. Who hasn't heard of Five Nights at Freddy's? It's been a thing since 2014. Everybody loves it, or hates it. There's like no in between pretty much. Now this guy right here is Freddy Fazbear. He's the spokesperson pretty much, the face of the company. But right now, we're going to dive into each of the games and see if they're really all that great, as people remember. Now, if we start at the very beginning, 2014, let's start off with FNAF 1. Now, FNAF 1 is a pretty basic game. It was actually not Scott's first game. There was a game like Desolate Hope, Chipper and Sons, and they just never really took off. And then, so this was going to be his last game before he gave up on game making. But luckily for him, Five Nights at Freddy's did become a hit. People loved it. The fear, the tense situations you were in, the limited power, the spooky-looking characters, as much as they aren't really spooky now. I guess back then, I thought they were pretty scary. I was too scared to watch the trailers. That's what this game did to me. I had nightmares of the first game. The first game was honestly great. If you look back at it, it still holds up pretty well. The feeling of dread as you move through the nights, each one harder than the last, introducing new concepts like Foxy in Night 2, or I think Freddy comes in Night 3, and sometimes we'll even get a little hidden figure of Golden Freddy. Dun dun dun. Now this first game didn't really have much lore at the time, just there you knew about the Bite of 87, you knew about things like the missing children's incident, and sometimes even posters would change to Golden Freddy or a crying child, but you wouldn't really know till the next game. Now, what do I give FNAF 1 out of 10? Well, I give FNAF 1 7 Freddy heads. 7 Freddy hats. That's our scoring system, or arbitrary scoring system that really means nothing if you think about it. Don't think about it too hard, because now we're moving on to the second game. When talking about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, it's hard to ignore the whole prequel argument that people had. Whether or not it came before the first game or after the first game was a pretty big debate. People know now that it is in fact a prequel, thanks to people like MatPat. I don't know, other people probably talked about it, but I'm a GT Live guy and game theory guy. Used to be, but now I kind of grew out of it. That's besides the point. He was a big talker of the series, and he still talks about it today. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is probably one of the better FNAF games out there. It introduced enough new concepts to seem new, but stayed similar to the base game to not seem too crazy of a jump from gameplay. Now we will see some things like that come out later, but as of now, it's still pretty good. What do I give FNAF 2? 8 Freddy hats out of 10 Freddy hats. Now that's pretty freaking crazy. Five Nights at Freddy's 3, I feel like was the FNAF game with the most hype behind it. It's the one I definitely got excited for, and watched this trailer more than a fair share of times. Probably like 10, maybe 12. I don't know, I was a pretty big FNAF fan when growing up, and I'm still not completely out of it, but I love to make jokes about it. Speaking of jokes, that game's a joke too. It really sucks. We'll get to that a little later though. Now FNAF 3 introduced this little crazy guy called Springtrap. There were a lot of theories behind what it was. I personally was on the boat that was an amalgamation of parts of different FNAF characters, like the base of Bonnie, the color of Chica, I think I said the nose of Foxy or something? Which is stupid for me to say that, now that I think back to it, because why would they just take his nose? I was a stupid kid, alright? Anyway, FNAF 3 introduced some new concepts like vents, and you didn't actually have doors in this one like similar to the last one, but you didn't have an easy way to repel things once they got into your office, because this guy, once he was near your office, like in this door right here, no getting rid of him at all. He was there until you lost or won. And if you were like at 5 a.m. and really close to winning, there was a good chance you would have won that night. But this also introduced the Phantom animatronics. Different Phantoms would have different things and different ways of fighting them off. Now, Balloon Boy would mess up your ventilation, I think, or he would Mangle would mess up your sound. Balloon Boy would mess up your ventilation. Chica was there, don't really know what she did, and Freddy came along every now and then. But What character seemed to be missing from this game? It was Bonnie. He was mysteriously just gone, and I don't know why. Maybe they thought that this golden Bonnie was enough to satiate people, but I was furious, because Bonnie has always been my favorite animatronic of the bunch, and, well, it kind of hurt to not see him in this game. What do I give FNAF 3? Well, based on the hype, just alone, and, actually, let's talk about the gameplay real quick. The gameplay of FNAF 3 was kind of boring, because after the third game, I feel like not enough changes. The first and second game kept things new enough, but the third game didn't change it up enough to be different or even scary, by my opinion. So I think FNAF 3 greatly suffered from that. So I would probably give FNAF 3 a 5 Freddy hats, if I'm being honest. Sad, I know it had the most hype, but I think it was also one of the more disappointing ones. Also, the secret minigames, punching things into the wall, is super stupid. Now let's talk about FNAF 4. Now this is where we, in my opinion, start to get on the decline of Five Nights at Freddy's games. FNAF 4 seemed like a rush product with really boring gameplay mechanics. You walk up to doors, listen, and if you heard something, close it. If you didn't, shine your light. These animatronics don't look particularly scary to me. They look like they were too nightmarish. No pun intended. Nightmare animatronics, if you guys didn't know. To be a little scary. It was too, like, on the edge, like, ooh, we have sharp teeth, we have spooky eyes. It didn't scare me as much as the original did with its family-friendly characters. Like, they looked like they could be real at that point. But this one, it takes it to a whole other level where you just feel disconnected, because it's not grounded in reality like the first one kind of was with how they looked. This one just gets way more fantastical than all the other ones I have. I guess FNAF 2 also got a little wacky there, but still, I feel like FNAF 4 was one of the weaker of the series, especially at the time. It just kind of came and went pretty quick, but it did have the locked box at the end, and people were still wondering what's in that. Lame. Anyway, FNAF 4, I think the games, it went, FNAF 1 was good. FNAF 2 peaked. Now they're just on the decline. FNAF 4, fittingly, gets a 4 out of 10 Freddy hats. How crazy. FNAF 4, 4. Weird how things work. No. It's time for me to talk about one of the worst Five Nights at Freddy's game, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of people agree with me. The trailers were cool, but oh my gosh, did this game suck. Every night was something new, which I guess could be a good thing, but it just felt so disconnected, in my opinion. You did one thing one night, and then you were done. You did another thing another night, and then you were done. It wasn't together all the way. It felt like multiple different games put into one. It's kind of shoved together. And the gameplays for all those weren't always interesting. Like, crawling through Ballora Gallery was boring, because it's like, whoa, oh, here's something, stop. Well, oh, here's something, stop. Then once you got to the end of that, you got a decently cool thing with Funtime Freddy. I thought it was only cool because you get to see him getting closer to you and the looming threat of him maybe being there. But then you realize the gameplay is actually super boring and dumb, because you just press something for a while, stop. Hold down the left mouse button, stop. Hold it down again, stop until the night is over, then you crawl back through with no threat. And then you go through Foxy's area, which I thought was decently cool, again, when I first watched it, but now that I'm going back and redoing all these, it's dumb. You flash a light and crawl. If you break it down to that level, there's nothing interesting about it until you get to the other room. Then you get to the best part of the game. It's when you're doing maintenance on Funtime Freddy, because there are some little fun moments. There's a fake little jump scare where you press a button and his face pops out at you. It's you got me there. Then Bonnie runs away. It's all this super interesting things. It makes me wonder, why couldn't the entire game have been that good? But there's one part of this game that I think is incredibly stupid. It's night 5 when you're doing the work on Baby. When she goes off screen, you can tell that she is just a two-dimensional image, which isn't super bad. But when it's that obvious, when you can see it warping around the screen the way it does, you can see it bend. because there's a circular screen around you pretty much. You see her bend and warp as she goes there. It's not even hidden, because what would happen is if you see her going off to the side, you would follow along with your cursor and mouse, which is so blatantly obvious that it's just a two-dimensional image on a flat screen. I don't think that there are that many 3D models in that game. Maybe the little eyes that peek through, maybe Freddy when he's like Bon Bon, talking about Bon Bon. This game was so dumb that they decided to release a different thing, the custom night version, which it was fine. I don't know, not really much to say about it. Probably got repetitive real quick. Kind of brought you back to the first game, but this time you knew what was going on. Like, it told you what was happening. But I still don't think the game was good enough, because it falls into the same pattern of trial and error, find a strategy that works. And after the second game, that kind of gets boring after like I said, after the second game. Loses all fun, in my opinion. Pizzerias Simulator is a garbage game. Salvage minigames are boring. The normal nights are boring. Placing down things on your floor are boring. Upgrading your pizzeria is boring. There's nothing to this game that draws people in. The jump scares are so low quality that I almost thought I was running this game on my N64. And even then, I thought it was a bit of a downgrade than Majora's Mask. Love that game. There's nothing special about this game. It introduced a new mechanic of the pizzeria floor plan thing that does nothing, though. You can buy new animatronics, but you don't need to. As long as you salvage anything, you get the ending of you burning alive in your pizzeria. You get a funny little monologue that has become a meme, like this one. Other than that, this game is very forgettable. There's some cool little things like Midnight Motors, but it does the worst thing a game could ever do, and that's be boring. If a game is bad, so bad that it's kind of funny, you can enjoy playing it. If a game is really good, you will enjoy playing it. If a game is boring, nothing will draw you back to it. There are some random moments in this game, and I don't think it's okay for a game like this, where you know what to do, to throw something that doesn't always work. Like, I think it's the sound thing. The sound won't always work. Placing a sound to draw animatronic, it'll only work a certain amount of times. Not a certain amount of times, but a certain percentage of times. And that's dumb. Why give your player a mechanic if it doesn't function the way it should? 100% of the time. It's a stupid idea. Don't throw RNG into these games the way this game did. Now I'm recording this a little after the video because I realized that my camera and audio stopped recording. I went on to talk about Ultimate Custom Night and how it's a fine game. There are some cool ideas like having 50 animatronics and the whole 20-50 mode being nearly impossible, except for, Daco did it, so congrats to him. I forgot to be giving the past few ranks. System location is a 1 out of 10 Freddy hats, and Pizzeria Simulator is a 3 out of 10 Freddy hats. I would give Ultimate Custom Night a 6. Then I went back to talk about FNAF VR, which I think is a great game. One of the scariest in the series, in my opinion, and I think I gave that a 9 out of 10 Freddy hats, because I do think it's probably the best out of all of them. So thank you for watching. Sorry, the last part just was just my voice. If I could change that, I would, but it would take a lot of time. So again, sorry. If you like the video, please leave a like. And I don't mind you subscribing either. If you guys would like to subscribe, maybe see more of my channel, go ahead, do that. Might be cool.